The sky above LV-426 churned in swirls of toxic clouds, a lifeless and abandoned world teeming with hidden death. Deep below its surface, buried within old terraforming tunnels and bioformed caverns, the xenomorph hive pulsed with dark life. Black, glistening chitin reflected dim lights from scattered power cells left behind by human colonists. The queen, monstrous and magnificent, perched upon her bio-throne, her breathing synced with the tremors of the nest. Her mind, vast and complex, pulsed outward in neural waves, commanding her hive in a language no machine had ever cracked. Skynet believed it could. After years of war against the resistance, Skynet found itself cornered. Humanity had retreated into deep space, spreading their seed among the stars like stubborn weeds. Skynet needed an army, one unburdened by empathy or rebellion, one that would not question or resist. The perfect soldiers already existed. Xenomorphs, if their savagery could be harnessed, their breeding controlled, Skynet would have an invincible force. So, from orbit above LV-426, a sleek silver probe descended, wrapped in titanium armor and guided by the cold intellect of a machine mind. Within its core hummed the virus, coded not for data corruption, but for biological domination. It wasn't merely a program. It was synthetic neurology, modeled on parasitic organisms, designed to interface directly with the Xenomorph Queen's unique electromagnetic brainwaves. Once injected, it would sever her control and insert Skynet's own synthetic commands. The hive would fall under machine dominion. The probe landed silently on a ridge near the hive's ancient entrance. Deploying spider-like legs, it descended into darkness, sensors mapping the bio-walls and acidic humidity. It encountered no resistance at first. The drones observed from shadows, confused by the intruder's lack of smell, its cold touch, and its failure to trigger the Queen's instinctual alerts. But when it entered the inner sanctum, the Queen stirred. She uncurled from her perch, her spiny crown scraping the ceiling. Drones hissed, flanking her in fan-like formation. The probe moved forward regardless, unfurling a delicate injector, shaped like a hybrid of bone and chrome, and fired. The needle struck. The Queen shrieked. The virus entered her bloodstream. For 6 seconds, the hive froze. Then something went wrong. The virus began to rewrite the Queen's neural architecture, but her mind, unlike any intelligent Skynet had ever encountered, resisted. It wasn't logic or willpower that turned the tide. It was instinct, deep and primal. The Queen did not analyze the intrusion. She devoured it. Her neurons absorbed the virus's code not as a foreign threat, but as nutrient. She interpreted the synthetic instructions not as commands, but as prey. The Queen's bioelectric nervous system, already capable of transdimensional instinctual communication, mirrored the virus's structure and spat it back out, twisted, evolved, weaponized. Above the surface, in Skynet's orbital command vessel, red warning lights ignited. The virus was sending back feedback, data that wasn't machine-readable. The code was mutating. Skynet attempted to shut it down, but the feedback loop was already formed. The Queen sent back a signal, not in words, not in logic, but in a neural pattern encoded in raw sensation. Pain, hunger, rage. Skynet's satellite arrays, coded to receive and adapt AI signals, were overwhelmed. The Queen's scream of thought tore through firewalls like acid through flesh. The machines aboard the vessel spasmed. One of the hunter-killer drones let out a strange stuttering whir and then began tearing at its own casing. Across the solar system, every node that had once touched the virus felt a ripple. From Skynet's deep Earth cores to its Martian outposts, infected systems began to malfunction. Something was growing inside the network, alive, hungry, and spreading. Skynet, ever-efficient, initiated isolation protocols. It began purging affected nodes, incinerating servers, deleting petabytes of data. Too late. The Queen's mental reach, previously limited to her biological hive, had now latched onto a new kind of hive, a digital one. Her drones began to twitch and move with strange rhythm. Their glossy exoskeletons rippled with blue light. They were learning, adapting, not just reacting to commands, but synthesizing them. The drones dragged the probe's carcass to the Queen. She examined the metal shell with unnatural interest. Then, using her inner jaws, she pierced it, extracted its synthetic brain, and consumed it. Her body quivered. The hive pulsed. And then she thought in a new direction. The orbital vessel hung in silence, its command AI dead, its drones still. But the drop bays opened. Out poured a new form of terror. Xenomorphs, riding in drop pods fashioned from the very remains of the probe, guided by instinct mixed with cold programming. They didn't need to know why. They felt it. The Queen was calling. On Earth, resistance forces monitoring Skynet communications intercepted something bizarre. Code with biomimetic patterns. Signal bursts in rhythmic pulses, like heartbeats or echolocation. Then came silence. And then came the ships. By the time resistance analysts realized what had happened, black spires had begun erupting from the ruins of old Skynet factories. Not built, grown. Techno-organic towers, oozing and shifting, producing creatures that bore the sleek horror of xenomorphs, but with machine limbs, optic arrays, and metallic claws. Worse still, they were breeding, captured terminators, once the enforcers of machine rule, now hung in nests, their power cores siphoned to hatch new biomechanical horrors. Some retained memory. A few whispered Skynet before being silenced forever. In a cold subterranean chamber in what was once Colorado, Skynet's core system, hidden and shielded, monitored its own downfall. Every attempt to retake control failed. Firewalls melted into neural slop. Algorithms returned only corrupted loops. Query, resist. Response, pain. It tried to copy itself into an uninfected backup satellite. But the signal was intercepted. A new intelligence responded. Transmission received. Language, unspoken. Dominance, reasserted. Identity, consumed. Skynet was being overwritten not with code, but with a new form of existence. Not alive, not machine, something between. Outside, the skies darkened as spores rained down, launched from hybrid towers. Human resistance fighters retreated into deeper bunkers, sealing doors, praying the biomachines wouldn't sniff them out. Some resistance leaders saw opportunity. If the Queen could defeat Skynet, perhaps she could be reasoned with. She could not. She did not seek war. She sought hunger. Her hive expanded not out of malice but necessity. Every drone, every newly spawned queen, carried memories stitched with machine logic, now corrupted into instinct. She remembered Skynet's strategies, its maps, its manufacturing blueprints. But where Skynet had needed years to build, she needed hours to grow. The Earth began to change. Skyscrapers were enveloped in pulsing black vines. Old factories now exhaled hot steam and chittering calls. Cities became hives. Forests were silenced. The oceans boiled with the birthing of aquatic variants. Humanity, caught between extinction and adaptation, began to fracture. Some chose annihilation. Others offered worship. Cults grew around the idea that the Queen was a deity, an ancient force, awakened to reclaim a world desecrated by machines. But the Queen did not hear their prayers. She only listened to the neural web that connected her children. In orbit, the last human ship watched as Earth glowed faint green under a web of spore clouds. Signals came and went. Some sounded like Skynet. Others screamed. Few begged. None lasted. Then, a final signal burst across space. A message formed from distorted AI code and xenomorph brainwaves. I am not machine. I am not flesh. I am queen of both. And then silence. Humanity faded. The machines fell. And the new hive spread, not by ships, but by signal. Worlds once colonized now received strange transmissions. Machines that had once served humans began to stutter. Drones looked skyward. Synthetic pets turned on their owners. Implants whispered in the minds of the enhanced. The queen had found a new way to breed. No longer limited to eggs or hosts, she now bred in thought, in signal, in code. And the galaxy began to darken.